The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Patrick Prunty, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be with you guys. So excited to be bringing a new market tonight. Specifically, we'll be talking about the west coast of Florida and the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metropolitan area. Briefly, before we get started, we have quite a few new people on the call tonight, and so just want to run over kind of what Marshall Reddick does. So many folks know us for our out-of-state rental property investing, something that Marshall Reddick pioneered years ago in the late 70s. But we also are functioning brokerage here locally in Orange County, California, and we have a recent office opened in San Antonio, Texas. Additionally, one of my main roles here at Marshall Reddick is on the private lending side. And a lot of folks don't know that we offer private lending. And basically, the old adage in real estate of, you can invest by becoming a landlord and collecting rent. Obviously an excellent way to go, but you can also play the landlord and lend capital, play the bank, lend capital, and collect interest. And kind of one of the cool parts and the reasons why that's important is because that's how I was introduced to our regional rep, Corey Donahue, and that's from the private lending. So several years ago, I was introduced to Corey, and our relationship kind of blossomed. And since that time, several Marshall Reddick clients have been the lender on deals where he has acquired the property, renovated it, and resold. So we kind of had a synergy going, and since that time, we've put a lot of time and effort to kind of bring this market to Marshall Reddick. It has a lot of strong metrics and all the things that we look for. And as those of you who know us well, we put a lot of time and effort into the research. We're big on the numbers, the demographics, the job growth, and all of those things that we're going to go through tonight. So again, my name is Patrick Prunty, and on the screen now, just a snapshot of the current markets that we are in. We do move and shake, but these are kind of the ones that we stick to, tried and true through thick and thin. And so tonight, again, as I mentioned, we're extremely excited to bring the Tampa metro area, which is actually an extremely large area on the west coast of Florida. One of the things I wanted to discuss before I bring the real speakers onto the call tonight is this kind of turnkey program that we're putting together. And so it would be our goal to take down some distressed properties, but in really good locations, and acquire them and bring them back to life, solid renovation. Okay, and at that point in time, then offer them to sale to Marshall Reddick clients, and be able to offer them at a price under market value, right? So get a little equity position for you guys as the buyers. And then ultimately place a tenant and have a tenant occupied before you close. And if we can put that system together, we're doing a wonderful job. And it's similar to what we're doing in other markets. We're hoping to be able to bring it in the Tampa area. All right, so that said, Corey, you on the call with us, bud?
I am, Patrick, I am. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate the time. It's been wonderful to get to know you, and I know everyone's super excited to hear from you. Additionally, on the call tonight, we have Heather Bell, one of our newest real estate advisors.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so happy she could be here. Actually lives in Los Angeles, but is here in Orange County at our main headquarters tonight, so it's a pleasure to have her with us. And of course, we also want to mention that, just a little tidbit of info, look for Heather coming up on HGTV pretty soon. She closed a deal recently, and her clients submitted to the House Hunters show. So in a couple of months, checking that out. And Daniel Ochnik, super excited to have you on the call too, bud.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick, for the introduction, and hello, everybody. I am a realtor and advisor here at Marshall Reddick. Really excited to be on this call. It's been a culmination of a lot of hard work and effort between Patrick, Corey, and myself to bring the Tampa market to our clients. As you know, to bring a market to our clients, not only do we need a solid market, but we need a solid team. And over the past several, we really feel that Corey and his team down in Tampa deliver a very quality investment for our clients in a very strong market. So tonight we're gonna see why Tampa's a phenomenal investment. Here's a basic snapshot of the entire MSA. You'll see all the counties that make up the Tampa metropolitan area. And Corey, if you want to point out some specific areas and zip codes here where you're seeing the best investments, I think that'd be very helpful.
Sure. There's a lot of parts around the MSA that are really strong right now for a number of reasons that we'll get into later in the webinar. But I'm sure a lot of people on the webinar are probably familiar with Clearwater. Everybody loves it's America's favorite beach. So that whole area there, Pinellas County, all the way north to south in Pinellas County, extremely strong growth. It's actually the most densely populated county in the state of Florida, even more dense than Miami-Dade, believe it or not. So they aren't making any more of it. So property appreciation there is very strong and rents are rising. One of my favorite areas is north of there, still close to the coast in West Pasco County. So we'll see some examples tonight of properties that we've done recently and that we have available currently that are in that part of town. High growth area, price points are excellent, rent is excellent, and there's a lot of folks moving into that part of town, especially a lot of infrastructure, a lot of golf out to the east. So there's a lot of retirees coming down from the Midwest and the Northeast into that area. And then of course, over in physically the city of Tampa and Eastern Hillsborough County, also extremely strong, very suburbia, and lots of great rental returns there. That's where the highest concentration in the metro for all the major rental players are. All the large REITs bought a lot in Eastern Hillsborough County.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always good to brush up on our geography. We forget, and look at actually where the area is located. So just want to make sure that everyone's clear exactly where what counties are involved. As Corey mentioned, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, and Hernando. Does that cover all of them, Corey, or are there any other counties that make up the metro?
So to the east, it's always a debate whether Polk County falls in the Orlando metro or the Tampa metro. It's easier to get to from the Tampa metro. So in years past, I've always included in the Tampa MSA. There's a city there called Lakeland, which is a huge growth area. It's a bedroom community for Tampa. It's about a 35-minute, 40-minute commute. And price points there are similar to what they are in West Pasco County. It's more of a working class type of an area whereas West Pasco tends to be a retirement type of an area. So long-winded answer is Polk County should be out of that list as well.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned
to the east.
That's going to show up later in our webinar tonight. But again, just the major cities being Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater. I thought it was very cool to see 18th in the U.S., so this metro at 3 million, and it's actually a little above that. We're just rounding here. But then to boot, from a single-family home sales price, we're very low at 75. So it's kind of like a good dynamic here between population and the price of the median single-family home.
Correct.
Brings us to our first poll tonight. We'd love to hear from you guys. The first question is why I'm interested in the Tampa metro.
So you guys should have that poll up. Great. Okay. We're getting some good responses there. Appreciate it. We'll just give a couple more minutes, so please take time to get your vote in. We love your feedback. All right, just a couple more seconds. And we're going to go ahead and close the poll. So publish those results.
All right, it looks like the majority of you are on the webinar tonight because you like the idea of buying a renovated and turnkey rental.
That's awesome because, again, that's our goal and what we're looking to do. Very hands-off cash flow right from the beginning. But I'm also glad to see that there's some people that are on here that are just looking to learn. So welcome to those as well.
Okay. Very briefly, I want to cover how we choose where to invest. There's a number of criteria, one being the job market, certainly vacancy rate, economic diversity, housing affordability, landlord-friendly states, of course, strong education, and reliable property management. We're going to dive into each of these tonight and see how they're relevant to the Tampa Metro. Also on our website, many of you have explored the properties we have available. Under the Invest tab, if you click on Properties and sort by the market, in the top left of the website, you'll see the properties that we have available in Tampa. And then on the right-hand side, you'll be able to download our Reddick property rating ebook. A very comprehensive read, but there's a lot of education in that book. We'll elaborate further on choosing the best real estate investments for your real estate goals.
Yeah, for those new to Marshall Reddick or haven't read the ebook, do yourself a favor and check that out. Right, it's a quick read, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and it's really going to change your opinion of real estate investing. I know it changed mine, and it comes from years and years and years of our own real estate investing and from client feedback. So that's going to really drive the methodology in which we classify properties, which the class really revolves around the class of the tenant, right? So the lower the class of the tenant, you're really going to have more of a cash flow situation. And the higher the class of the tenant, you're going to obviously have higher rents, but you're going to be in nicer areas, nicer school districts. And so generally, you're going to be in a more appreciation area with less cash flow. But again, take a look at that. That comes from a lot of years of experience. Corey, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on economics and jobs?
Sure, absolutely. So as we were talking about earlier, guys, I think the military base definitely drives a lot of stability to our job market, but it's certainly not anywhere close to where the growth is really coming from and what we're experiencing here economically. It provides a good backbone for us, but healthcare is huge here right now. Healthcare is growing with the amount of retirees that are moving into town. And the sector, the technology sector here in Tampa, that's really driving a huge amount of economic growth. As we'll see in future slides, the job market here is very strong, getting stronger by the day. You see the Publix picture there. It's a large grocery store chain in the Southeast. It's actually based in Lakeland, which is another reason why we really like that part of the metro. A lot of jobs over there from the corporate headquarters in Lakeland. And then, of course, they have stores throughout the entire Southeast. We also have one of the largest universities in the country here, University of South Florida, based right in Tampa. So a lot of jobs around that as well. So financial sector, Raymond James, JP Morgan, Citi, they're all here, all the way from Sarasota up through downtown Tampa, Clearwater, and St. Pete. There's branch offices of all those investment banks here. So we've got a good, diverse economy that is growing, really, really, really strong growth. That's very stable growth. I like I do a lot in Tampa and in Orlando. I really like the Tampa Metro because it's just such a diverse economy.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of points there I didn't even think about. I was reading so much about it in the last several weeks building up to this, and the amount of retirees coming in makes sense why healthcare is booming there. But
Correct.
from my perspective, and certainly I'm not the local, but a couple of things that really hit home for me. I spent about 20 years in the city of Long Beach here in California, and the port there really drives the economy. So when I was doing the research here, I noticed that the port of Tampa Bay is very old school and definitely is on the map in terms of its economic impact and the jobs that it supports. So that is something that's there to stay for the long term, as well as the military and national defense presence. So those of you who know me as well, I'm a huge proponent of the military in terms of how it affects the rental market, because there's always a constant supply of tenants, right? Now, we already know that it's a diverse economic power here in this metro, but the addition of MacDill Air Force Base, as well as the Coast Guard Air Station being, one of the largest Coast Guard outlets, I really think that this just adds another element, making Tampa one of the most diverse markets. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%, Patrick. Or I'm sorry, that was Patrick or Daniel? I apologize.
That was Patrick. No worries.
Yeah. Corey, what did I also understand that spring training is pretty big outside of the regular sports fans? Corey, are you with us? Hope we didn't lose you. For those still on the call, it is the case that Florida in general, spring training for Major League Baseball, a lot of teams spend their time there. And so I think that's, brings a lot of tourism, which also is a big draw to this market. But nonetheless, you still have your large teams, of course, Major League Baseball, National Football League, and the National Hockey League. Corey, I'm glad you're still there.
I'm back. I'm back. I apologize. Yeah, my headset was giving me trouble for a second. But yes, spring training is huge here, drives our tourist market, as do the beaches. So kind of jumpstarts the tourist season here when spring training comes, and then it just flows all the way through the summer at that point. So a lot of major teams. Fort Myers is kind of close to the MSA, drives a lot of the Boston fans. The Yankees are right in downtown Tampa. So spring training is certainly a great draw, but our tourist market is strong all year long.
What do you think about the statistics? I mean, I was kind of shocked when I pulled this in. Obviously, across the country, the labor force and the unemployment rate specifically is down. But, I mean, how much lower can we go than the 3.3 we're sitting at now?
Yeah, exactly. Employment here is just, the growth is incredible. I really don't think it ever gets lower than that, does it, Patrick? I mean, it'll best we can ever look for is 3%. That's just a pretty stabilized statistic. It's really fantastic, given that where we were 5 years ago.
Right. I saw an interesting statistic that we were at 10% as a country in October of 2009. That's coming a long ways. But nonetheless, I'm a very statistics-driven person, and I think that, the 3% number is a fantastic number and just goes to further solidify that this market is one that can weather any storm and just continue to be a good long-term area for growth.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the diversity in our MSA is fantastic, and that's what drives that number.
So, in bringing on a market such as Tampa, or any market for that matter, and presenting it to our clients, there's a lot of research that's involved, and certainly we want credible research. So when you have a media outlet like Forbes with Tampa on their best places to purchase housing in 2017, we definitely take notice. And Tampa, as you'll see, made Forbes list this year at number 7. So that's one thing to consider. And then one thing that we'd also learned in our research is that the nickname for Tampa is actually the Big Guava. I learned today due to guava's importance in Tampa's economy, especially early in its history.
Yeah, Corey, you never shared that with me. I didn't know it was the Big Guava. That's a pretty cool name. Yeah, nonetheless, I mean, just every outlet in terms of reputable business and investment outlets, like we talked about, Business Insider, Forbes, whatnot. I mean, Tampa's just showing up on every list. Okay, and we need to take note of that.
So we have here, this is just a nice little graph of the Tampa market. And what I would like to point out is, yes, they were affected. This market was affected by the bubble. However, Tampa prices have not risen back to pre-recession levels. So there is definitely solid appreciation on the horizon in this marketplace.
Yeah, and also important for everyone to know that this data comes from the National Association of Realtors, right? So we didn't just make these numbers up, and we're looking at, a very long period of time, 25, 30 years. And so on average, over this period of time, we're talking 3.6% nearly in average annual appreciation. Now, that might seem low, but if you were to look at the same here for Los Angeles or Orange County, you ask somebody and they say, oh my gosh, it's like 20% a year here. And that's certainly not the case. It's roughly 5% in one of the highest appreciating markets in the country. So understand that Tampa in this metro area is not too far behind. Right, and just to reiterate what Heather was saying, right, at the end of 2016, in sub $200,000 median single family price, we're well below that pre-recession high. So there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, and that's just to add to that, Patrick. I think something that's easy to forget is how far behind population growth we are in terms of development and adding new units to the MSA. The building here is taking place not only in the downtown metro areas, but in all the suburbs as well. And we're about 8 years behind the demand curve right now. So that's just going to continue to drive pricing up. And we're well below the affordability index as well. So there's just some really good economic factors working in Tampa's favor right now.
Yeah. I totally agree, and I hate to, drop another name of a market, but I'm a huge Tennessee fan, so I was couldn't believe that they were number one. But like we were talking about before, Tampa ranks super high. Again, this comes from Bloomberg, and then definitely, as you talked about earlier, Corey, is Lakeland. So maybe you could give us a little bit more. I feel like that's kind of a sleeper community that our clients should be looking and focusing in.
Yeah, Lakeland's great because the price points are lower than even the Tampa MSA. Rents are really strong. It's its own city. It's got its own diversification of financial markets there. There's like I said, the corporate headquarters for Publix. There's a number of other smaller tech companies that are based in Lakeland. It's called Lakeland for a reason. So even though it's not on the West Coast on the water, there's a lot of water to live on over there. A lot of, outdoor activities, water skiing, boating, fishing certainly is a big thing in Florida. And then there's a lot of golf courses, and it's an affordable area for people to move to, and just kind of get away from a little bit more of the hustle bustle, yet still be able to commute into the major job markets.
So what do you think price point wise, Corey? I mean, it seems like I'm seeing like 200,000 being like a decent price for a Tampa property. Where are we at in Lakeland?
Yeah, Lakeland's going to run about 20%, 15 to 20% lower for the same store product.
Right. And it's just as metros, like it's crazy here for us, like Los Angeles, Orange County. People just keep moving out farther and commuting in because the housing becomes unaffordable. So it's like those little outside
Right.
bedroom communities where the rents are doing nothing but going up, and the prices are still not have caught up to what's going on in the city center.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
And the good news is, for Tampa, they've done a pretty good job of keeping the highways growing with the community. So, it's not like you guys have in California where you just don't even think about going on the highway during rush hour. It does clog a little, but it's much more easy to navigate than it would be in a lot of major metro cities.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we'll get out of our data-driven package here, but just to reiterate, a lot of people don't realize how the cost of living index works, but 100 being the average across the board, I mean, short of transportation, we're well under the average. So I think, again, that kind of just goes to promote the perfect storm of what Tampa has to offer in terms of solid population, fairly low prices, and super strong rents.
Yeah, and you'll see here, this is just a general appreciation trend in terms of Tampa's MSA for their rents. Right now, you'll see the average list price for rent in Tampa MSA is $1,450, and it's been steadily increasing.
Yeah, Corey, what are your thoughts? I mean, $1 a square foot, is that pretty solid across the area?
It is, and obviously it trends down as the larger the unit gets, right? But it's definitely solid. I'd like to think that we've had something to do with why the rents have been trending in the right direction. Restabilizing the housing market here has definitely pushed rents up, and then there's a large investment community here that does a great job at management and professionally manages a whole lot of properties here, and people are comfortable with rentals here, and the rents just seem to keep ticking up 3 to 5% a year without even looking back.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, as you talked a little bit about this in the beginning, where especially over like on the St. Pete Peninsula there, if you want to call it, there's just no more land, right? So it's like there's nowhere to go but up, and that means like in terms of price, in terms of rent, in terms of building upwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not making any more beaches for sure, and there's a lot of really good healthcare in Pinellas County. So, whereas if you go, you can certainly go 100 miles north, 150 miles north, and still find water, but you have no infrastructure there. So, St. Pete, Clearwater, Pinellas County is just, like you said, has nowhere to go it up. And I thought it was interesting, the last slide you showed, Patrick, as well, that we're 84% on the index, or where our scores, 86 in housing, and everything else is in the 90s. It just tells you how much growth we have in the housing market, because we're just way below that affordability index, and that really is what's going to continue to drive pricing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure everyone wanted to get to our properties, which, we've got some really good ones. And just if I can interject, I'm liking, and out of all the properties I've been looking at, I'm really liking the higher price point. I mean, we've got a good spread tonight. We're going to be showing some luxury class all the way to C class, but seldomly do we even see luxury class that's a break-even cash flow, right? Because obviously we're talking bigger property, excellent location, and a lot of times those are going to be priced out of the market, where the rent you could collect, it would be something like here in Newport Beach, where the dynamic where it rents for $7,000 a month, but it costs $2.5 million. So it's like there's no way to make those numbers work. But I think that we can do that at a higher class of a property, so like a luxury or an A class. And I really feel like that's a much better play for a long-term rental property owner. A lot of people, I think, gravitate towards the higher cash flow, which obviously is great, but you're going to be gravitating then towards lower priced property that's going to have lower class of tenants, which is going to translate into more maintenance and vacancy problems, right? And I will be the first to tell you, I have 15 rental properties today, and it becomes unruly at some point. And it's like you'd prefer to own less really nice assets than more not so nice assets. So I think that as you're going to see with some of these properties that we're showing tonight, that this is possible here. And again, if there's, we're going to show a good spread, but the point of the turnkey program is if you kind of dial in what you like and you don't see it, let us know. Talk to your real estate advisor. Call Corey. Email me. Let's go find you exactly what it is that you'd like.
And before we get into those properties tonight, I just want to introduce our holiday season sale. We were able to introduce this program last year around the holidays, and we're so excited to be able to bring it back this year and introduce it this year in the Tampa market. Essentially, if you contract between now and the end of the year on a property in Florida, we will provide $200 cash back at closing, 1 month of free property management, and a free appraisal credited at closing. So just a little added incentive if you're thinking about investing before the end of the year.
Awesome. So Corey, this is that luxury property I was talking about down there. You know the location of this one down at Pinellas Point?
I do, yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I mean, this is pretty close there to the bay. How do you feel about it?
I love it. I mean, that again, that area, you can't really go wrong in Pinellas County right now. There's the amount of population growth in that county and how densely populated it is. It's just driving that market crazy. And this house is a great house. Really solid rents. I mean, vacancy in Pinellas County in this type of a market is going to be well below 5%. It's running somewhere in the high threes. Just a slam dunk of a property. You know, price point is good. It's got nowhere to go but up from there. It's probably still about 20% off what it would have been at the peak.
Yeah, and what about one thing I've noticed about the area is 2-car attached garages maybe aren't always easy to come by. Are there a lot in this area, or is this special to this property?
Well, this area, Pinellas Point, they were higher end properties when they were built. So Pinellas County has the oldest housing stock in the MSA, and a lot of building took place there in the 50s, 60s, and 70s because everybody moved to Florida to be close to the beach. So most of those houses were the old style bungalow, you know, small 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a 1-car garage. This neighborhood in particular commands a higher price per square foot because all those houses are a little bit larger and they have 2-car garages. And as you can see, this is an oversized 2-car garage. So it is a little bit rare for the county, which is what drives the pricing even higher.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I think this is my favorite property, but I was talking with Heather earlier tonight, and she prefers this one.
I do, yeah. The one, this property here on Bayview Drive, as you'll see, it's not only provides very, very high monthly cash flow, but it also has a great annual ROI of over 20%. This is one of our properties that we're currently fixing up. It's going to be completely move-in ready, and you can even help you out with putting tenants in place. So it's an all-inclusive type of property.
Yeah, and you know, on our pro forma, I mean, Corey mentioned there a second ago about how low the vacancy is. We're very, very conservative here at Marshall Reddick, and even for an A class or luxury class like the one we just looked at, and this one would be considered A class based on the price point, we're factoring in an 8% maintenance and an 8% vacancy factor. So you can actually see your monthly income on this. You know, again, with 25% down, that's what we're looking at here. These are all conventionally financed pro formas. $500 a month income, and you know that's actually dollars in your pocket. But then we're suggesting you put away maintenance and vacancy of at least 8%, and of course factor in your leasing fee, you actually end up with real cash flow of about 170. But I mean, from a long-term hold perspective, if you can get over 20% ROI with this conservative amount of numbers, I mean, it's a no-brainer. So, Corey.
Well, and I think it's important,
when you,
Patrick, to add to that is that this one is discounted to the market. I mean, you could definitely, you know, this is one we're created for the program specifically, and you know, you could easily justify a significantly higher price on this property via retail comps, and you know, and the vacancy number there that you have and the maintenance number there are both very conservative. So I agree. I mean, this is a slam dunk. I understand why this is Heather's favorite. I love this property. I, you know, obviously spent a lot of time in it, and we've spent a lot of time on it. It was a very significant size rehab, so we worked really hard on it. And when it comes out, it's going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, what's the timing on the rehab? When do you think this is going to be spick and span and we get to see photos?
We should be walking it. I am hopeful we're walking it on Friday, but I'll just say by next Friday for sure we'll be punched out and done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see the photos. Why don't you tell us a little bit? We've got a couple here in succession that we're going to go over that are up in that West Pasco County. So this one in particular is Newport Richey. Tell us a little bit about the dynamic between Port Richey, Newport Richey, and Hudson.
So they're all very similar. If you live there, you may not agree, but you know, from a analytics perspective, they're all very similar. Similar, you're going to be definitely a similar tenant. What I love about this area is that there's a lot of infrastructure around it for leisure, meaning golf courses, boating. You know, there's a lot of retirement communities that provide activity. So the price point on these houses is like nothing you would see that I've ever seen in any other part of the country that close to the water. When you can be literally drive your boat across the street and put it into the Gulf of Mexico for $150,000, you know, it's just mind-boggling to me. I love this area. There's no way that the appreciation doesn't continue to grow at much higher than the rest of the MSA, in my opinion, from a percentage basis.
Yeah. Let me ask a quick question. We're getting a few questions about this. So, what about flood zones?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that. Prevalent?
They're going to be in Pinellas and West Pasco. However, we're not buying in the flood zone, you know, the A flood zone where it's kind of right on the water and you have major insurance concerns. We try to stay in the lowest two flood zones, X and C, and then just try to make sure that whenever, certainly the underwriting will all reflect the insurance costs if we ever bring something to market that is in a flood zone. But everything you're seeing tonight is either in the X zone, which basically is not in a flood zone, or it's in the very lowest flood zones that their insurance requirements don't move the needle much on cash flow. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Because obviously insurance and property taxes are a big driver in what the income and cash flow looks like. But this one, I liked this particular property as well. I know I talked about how I like the higher price point, but I think this is like a good average medium, and it's certainly priced to sell. So those of you who know the website well, I took some time this week to upload some comps for each one of these properties. So right on marshallreddick.com, you can see some local retail comps within the last month or two that are going to support significantly higher price points than we're able to offer these. So take advantage of the efforts that we put forth. So Corey, this one is Hudson, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a little bit north of Newport Richey?
Correct. Same general area, same product type in that area in Hudson as there is in Port Richey and Newport Richey. Again, this one's not in a flood zone; it's in an X zone. you know, I just love these little houses. You know, Patrick, I agree. And, you know, I've bought well over my fair share of the luxury rentals. But for some reason right now, not for some reason, I have a lot of data and economic reasons. I'm with you on the luxuries in terms of maintenance and vacancy. But these little houses just provide so much cash flow, and the growth on a percentage basis to drive your IRR and long-term ROI is tremendous. Yeah,
I would like to put a couple of these into my portfolio too. I'm trying to get my financing in order. I need to pare down. I have too many mortgages at this point in time, and so the bank says, "Sorry, bud, you need to sell some stuff." Otherwise, I would say.
That just means you're not making enough money, man. You're going to have to talk to your boss.
No, hey, I would like to think Fannie Mae won't buy the paper on the back end. So, but good going. I'm gonna I'll share that with them tomorrow. Okay, so here's our last property tonight, and this is going to be back in Port Richey. So what's the distance, though, between Port Richey, New Port Richey, and Hudson? How close are they distance-wise?
They're in a 10-mile radius of each other, from tip to tip. So, I mean, they're really close. I mean, they all touch each other. There's 4 towns there that are all right next to each other. And then, so Port Richey would kind of probably be the one that's a little bit higher price point, New Port Richey, because it tails further east, and in that little pocket there's a town that kind of popped up out of nowhere called Prunty, and that town has a huge hospital and a bunch of new construction and some large golf courses. So, you know, kind of the closer you get to that little pocket, it just drives the pricing up a little bit. So Port Richey then is you know, kind of second to that, and then Hudson and Holiday are up a little bit further away from the hospital. So pricing seems to follow where the infrastructure is.
Got it. Okay, and just to reiterate for you folks, these properties that we've all gone through, price to sell. So undervalue compared to what they could be sold for or what they're actually on the local market for. So you need to bring your offer. These are not going to last long. So certainly speak to your real estate advisor as soon as possible. Share with them some details, give them some feedback on the presentation, and let's go from there.
All right, it's time for our second poll of the evening. Of the properties presented tonight, which one are you guys most interested in?
So you guys should all see the questions there. And again, would love your feedback. So just a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds, excuse me. Getting a lot of interest. Yep. Couple more seconds. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close the poll and share those results.
All right, it's actually a tie tonight between 5801 Illinois Ave in Newport Richey and 5626 Berlin Drive in Port Richey, with 8611 Longboat Lane coming in second.
Yeah. Very good. I guess a little bit of difference of opinion from those on the call, but good feedback. Appreciate you guys.
I apologize, Patrick, if I oversold you on those. I'm just in love with the little ones right now.
Yeah. No, it sounds like, well, I mean, you're the local, right? You've been there for the extended period of time. I know you in our conversations. I mean, it's like I talk to you, and you know the zip codes like I know the zip codes of Long Beach, where I spent the majority of the time after college. So knowing somebody who has that type of neighborhood by neighborhood market, I'd probably go with your recommendation as well.
Well, no, look, I mean, all 5 of those properties are slam dunks. And for me, it's just I've kind of made my living early days on those smaller, lower priced properties, you're going to get a lot more dollar growth out of the stuff that's in Pinellas County. Percentage wise, you're going to have a higher return probably on the smaller houses because the HPA is going to drive them faster. But I think we're both right, Patrick, in the bottom line, and I think having a diverse portfolio on both sides of the, of the economic spectrum makes a lot of sense. And so, long-winded way to say we're both right. I've how many I've done that were in that higher price point. So obviously it's a great place to be, but I'm just loving the little ones right now.
I'm going to let Daniel jump in to his relationship with our property manager, who actually knows Marshall Reddick from way back in the day. But we had another question come in revolving around insurance, and that, maybe it's high. What about the, hurricanes? We just had Irma come through. And so I can speak to that before I let Corey say a few words. I have learned a ton about homeowners insurance over the last 5 to 7 years. I mean, in the early stages of my investing career, I was kind of just using the local State Farm or Allstate agent. And I just noticed that my premium just kept going up every year. And it was kind of like, I never really understood what drove my premium. And so now it's like I always shop between 2, 3, or 4 insurance agents, and I toggle with the coverages, the deductible levels, and several different things. And I can find that a lot of times I can get that really good coverage for a lot less expensive if I just spend some time looking for it. But I can't speak to storm-wise and how that would look. So, Corey, from an insurance perspective, what are your thoughts?
Sure. I mean, obviously, you're always going to carry insurance in Florida. I've been doing business here for 15 years in the rental space and have never had a catastrophic loss from a hurricane or from any major storm. Generally what happens is if you have any damage at all, it's going to be relatively minor. And, I mean, that's what we have insurance for. I mean, you just pay for it, and if you need it, you hope you never do, but never had a challenge in, literally tens of thousands of houses. With Irma coming through, if you look at the data from what the big boys did, and they have a concentration here of over 20,000 houses. Their losses were nominal, and Irma was a major hurricane that covered the entire state. They lost out of 20+ thousand houses, they had 600 roofs they had to replace. So on a percentage basis, that's nothing. And so as a single house owner, if you have insurance and you only have a few houses, it's what the insurance is for. And I don't ever lose sleep over it. I get from out of state, I get that question all the time, and we never ever have an issue. Knock on wood. That's just keep your insurance in place.
Yeah, well, at least you can get insurance, right? It's like for us over here, we everyone's like, well, you guys are crazy living there with the potential large earthquake that's coming, and we can't even get insurance to cover earthquake damage. So at least y'all can get it for your wind and your named storms.
Right, and you guys are struggling with the fire stuff out there too right now too, and that's tough.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Daniel, without further ado, let's talk property management.
Yeah, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Dave Sigler. I've been able to speak with Dave over the past several months, and in choosing a property manager, we were very diligent. We were careful. We definitely vetted the team that we chose to work with. And ultimately, Dave was a referral from Corey, and I found him to be incredibly experienced, reputable, and familiar with the market. Just to go through some of his personal credentials, he's a certified residential property manager. He is the 2018 president-elect of the Florida National Association of Residential Property Managers, and he is the 2018 Greater Tampa Area Realtor Management Director. And like Patrick was saying, he actually has a connection to Marshall Reddick in the past. He actually acquired a company with whom Marshall Reddick had referred our clients for property management way back, and actually some of his landlords had spoken to him about Marshall Reddick when we came to him asking for him to be a preferred property manager. Spoke fairly highly of Marshall Reddick, and Dave was really excited to join as a part of the team. They've in our conversations, we've come to an agreement for special Marshall Reddick pricing, as you can see here. Discounted fees for our clients. There's a 65% leasing fee, 8% monthly management fee, and a $250 lease renewal fee. In addition, I can't stress the importance of a property manager or using a property manager when you're investing in real estate, especially out of state. And here, just a quick list of everything Dave and his team are able to do in managing your asset, making sure that the company that you're working with is marketing your property correctly, understands the market and the local laws.
Yeah, one of the big things I noticed and pulled out of this was they're pretty technologically advanced, right? Younger guy, not afraid of technology, and that really is helpful. You need your tenants to be able to pay online. You need to be able to collect your payments online. You need to be able to get all of your work orders. I mean, at the tip of a button, you need to have that, right? And a lot of property managers are still doing business the old school way. Do you by chance know how many properties that they're managing in total? They're a fairly large operation, right?
Correct. If I'm not mistaken, it's around 1,000 total properties.
Right. And these are pretty good fees. I mean, obviously we're around the country, and a lease renewal fee at $250 is very low. Management fee at 8%. I'm seeing it push to 12 in a lot of markets, and it's not uncommon for 100% of 1 month's leasing fee. So I think you've done a really good job negotiating with them.
I was going to congratulate you guys on those numbers. I mean, I have very strong knowledge of the rental market around the country, and to get those kind of fees from a property manager as strong as him, you guys did a great job putting that together for your clients.
Well, we intend to send him a good amount of business, and I think it was easy to get him on board simply for the fact that one of the smaller property management companies that he acquired had several Marshall Reddick clients as clients. So he kind of understood the power that if we get behind this and, really get some folks there, it works both ways, and it's an economy of scale, right? So if he gets solid business, he's able to do a great job, and he's able to do it for cheap. So there you go. Welcome, Marshall Reddick clients. So we had a couple questions that we already went over. We kind of wanted to open the floor to see if anybody else had something specific that we could go over before we wrap it up. Obviously, you want to be cognizant of everyone's time and stick to it. So if you have your questions, go ahead and ask them now. Daniel, looks like we've got one coming in about the military. Why don't you ask that? Maybe Corey can give us some feedback.
Yeah, Ryan's asking if Corey, if you could elaborate a little bit about the military presence in the Tampa MSA.
Absolutely. So we have two bases, one major one, and then we have a Coast Guard base. The major one, MacDill Air Force Base, is not only a large Air Force base, but it's also where Central Command and Southern Command are based, the entire military of the U.S. So the stability behind that base is not going anywhere. It continues to grow. It's 15,000 plus jobs in the area, just military jobs that brings, and certainly those folks, our military, are spread over the whole MSA where they live, and then they commute down to south of Tampa where the base is. But it continues to be a staple and the backbone for our community. And obviously we love our military here.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have another question about the leasing fee. So I'm gonna jump back to our property management slide. So the question coming in, thanks, Brent. What's the leasing fee? Okay, so with property management, there's always going to be at least two fees, and that would be the leasing fee, which is the cost to place a tenant. So if you have a vacancy and you need a new tenant, right? There's several items that go behind marketing and advertising and showing the property. And so in this particular market, let's say that the rent was $1,000 per month, right? A 65% of 1 month's rent would be the leasing fee. So that'd be $650 based on that $1,000 rent that would be charged and taken out of that first month's rent to cover the property manager's marketing, advertising, and leasing activities, the credit check and all that kind of thing. So I hope that helps. A couple other questions we've got here. We had another question about the appreciation rate. So when we showed the slide that Heather spoke about that had the National Association of Realtors numbers, was about 3.6% average per year over, I think that was a 25-year period. Okay, so obviously there's ups and there's downs, and it's never actually 3.6, but we're talking about year over year based on 25 years of median single-family home sales price, which, we at Marshall Reddick are very pro single-family home, that you can anticipate a solid 3.6% appreciation. So again, Brent, thanks for that. Excellent question. Daniel, I think we have time for one more. Yeah, okay, so we do. The question we had was appreciation, right? Corey, maybe you can speak to this. Knowing where we are in the market right now, how long do we kind of expect or anticipate seeing kind of the 7, 8, 9, 10% appreciation we've had in the last several years?
Yeah, so I mean that's the magic 8 ball, right? And Patrick, I just came back from the industry conference that has become kind of the premier conference in the country for single family rentals, and that was a big topic of conversation there. And so it's to me it's back to that affordability index. The kind of the general feeling from the leaders in the industry was a good solid 2+ years of steady growth, and then maybe a little bit of a slowing in growth, but certainly nobody feels like there's going to be a retraction in single family right now just because the supply is so far below demand. I would say that for Florida, I have a very strong opinion that the median house price and below is going to run that growth for 3 to 5 years. Again, no magic 8 ball, but we're just so fair priced for what you get here, and so affordable. I feel like we're gonna, that sub $250,000 house is just going to continue to grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think so too. I think what you talked about earlier about the demand still being pretty high, I think that's going to continue to drive prices. All right. Well, as we wrap it up, turn it over to Heather to kind of close us out and tell us a little bit about, she's going to follow up with you and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, so what can you expect from a consultation with an advisor? Well, you and I are going to have about a 30-minute phone call. What we'll go over your goals, how we can get you to your goals, evaluate your options, decide on a time frame, set up your criteria, identify the markets, and if Tampa does look like a marketplace that you're interested in, then at that point I would connect you with Corey. We do have over about 15 other markets that we invest in as well. And lastly, I would introduce you to all the key players that would be involved in the transaction. So my goal is to help you achieve your goals. And yeah.
Awesome, Heather. Appreciate you being down here with us tonight. And as you can see, certainly Heather will be following up with each of you, unless you already have an assigned real estate advisor, but expect a call. However, feel free to reach out or you can also do so and request a consultation right on the website. So Corey, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's super late for you on the East Coast, but again, thanks for the time. My pleasure to finally get Tampa off the ground and bring it to our clientele.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really excited to continue to work with you guys and develop more relationships with clients, and as I'm sure you could hear the passion in my voice, I just love this area, and I love real estate, and I'm excited to do everything we can together with the clients at Marshall Reddick.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate your time. Have a wonderful evening and a happy holiday season. Bye-bye.